Thank you, and hello to everybody. Today I'm joined by Ailish O'Brien. There was Ailish and I and 4 other Mercy sisters from Ireland were out, and we went out last Saturday week on a Build It week with Haven. Haven is a non-profit, non-denominational organisation which was set up by Leslie Buckley and his wife Carmel. Leslie is a businessman, and his business brought him to Haiti, and while he was there he was horrified by what he saw, and so he decided to do something about it. So therefore he set up the organisation called Haven to address initially the homelessness, and his mission was to build houses for the homeless. But they also run a lot of other programs like sanitisation programs, education programs, upskilling people, and they have about 10 Irish people employed in Haiti, teaching the Haitians and encouraging them to take control over their situation and helping them in that situation. How we became involved in it was we had the congregation, the Irish Sisters of Mercy, the congregation offered us the opportunity, those of us who are under 60, to, if anybody wanted the opportunity to go to Haven on a Build It week. And so 6 of us, well actually 9 of us said yes, and we were due to go out last October, and on the day before we were due to fly out, cholera broke out, and therefore our trip was postponed. So therefore we went last week. 3 of the sisters of the original 9 were unable to travel at that time, so they're going out in October. So 6 of us set off along with 350 people of all ages, from all types of backgrounds, all types of trades, and those of us that might have had none either, to work together to create, to complete 80 houses, a community centre, a playground and another seating and garden area. And we did achieve this in the week. Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. It has about 80% of the people live in abject poverty. And while we were there, we actually saw this in that one of the sites that the beneficiary sites that we visited as part of the programme, all of the people that are on that site were displaced people from the hurricane, Francis, the last hurricane. And they're basically living in horrific conditions on a dump site on the edge of the city of Port-au-Prince, very close to the sea. In other circumstances, I would say it's probably a fantastic, fabulous place. I mean, the views and everything would be, but it is absolute squalor. And I suppose for me, this was the first time that I would have seen, I'd have read about it, I've seen it on television, but it's the first time I would experience firsthand this type of poverty. And 2 of the houses that we visited, the families in these houses were going to receive one of the houses that we completed, and that's why we were invited to their houses. And basically these houses were made from cardboard, pieces of curtain, pieces of cloth, anything that it just was put together to make one room. And you could have up to 5 to 10 people living in one of these houses. The thing though was that, as when we were in these sites, the joy of the children, like they had no idea of what they were actually living in, and they were so excited to see us, and they just loved holding your hand and running along beside you, and basically just they were full of joy. And as the other thing that I discovered there was music knows no boundaries, and we were accompanied by one of the volunteers who is a fantastic musician and who has a great presence there with the kids and with the people, and he had a guitar with him, and we sang in the middle of all of this squalor, really. And I know it's a terrible word to use, but that is what it was to our eyes. I mean, to them it's home at the moment. We sang Don't Worry, Be Happy, and the Redemption Song, and all of these songs, and they just absolutely loved it. But for me, it really gave me the total insight as to why I was there. And the reason that I was there was in some way to improve the lives of these people. as a member, as one tiny little cog in this huge group of fantastic people that went out, all with the one mission of ensuring that 80 more families would have a house by the time we left. And therefore we had one of the members of the volunteers, he wrote a poem about our experience, and he described our flight and our whole journey as a slow circuitous route, and I can tell you it was a slow circuitous route. We finally arrived, in Port-au-Prince about, we were due to arrive about 4:15 in the evening. Their time, it was at least, I'd say, 7 o'clock before we arrived there. And then we were to travel in convoy because it's not very safe, and we would have had a UN would have accompanied us, and the local police would have accompanied us out of Port-au-Prince to Gonavay, which was about 150 kilometres north of Port-au-Prince, where we were going. And about 15 minutes into the journey, we came to a stop, and we didn't really know what was wrong for a while, but anyway, it turns out, 2 of the buses broke down, so we were sitting there on the road for about 2 hours, surrounded by police and everybody, minding us. And eventually we got to the campsite that we were going to at around 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were greeted with such joy and a massive welcome from the Haven team that was already out there waiting for us, and they had lovely finger food and everything ready for us, although I don't think a lot of us were actually fit to eat at that stage. At that stage it was the equivalent of travelling 24 hours. We slept in tents, and Ailish has a video made of the week, which we'll show in a few minutes, but we were sleeping in tents, 6 to a tent. And I suppose in some way this was in integrity with the people, because our lifestyle there for the week mirrored in a way how they lived, except we were fed very well, and they were constantly standing outside the fence looking in at us, I'm sure wondering and in what we were about really, even though they have a great understanding of what Haven does for them. Finally, I think we were getting into bed around 3 o'clock anyway. I think I said it's 3 o'clock, and breakfast on the first morning was at 6. So we were on the campsite around 6:30, not on the campsite, on the building site at around 6:30, and each of us had we were in different teams. I was part of the painting team. Ailish was part of the water team. There was a catering team. There was the labourers. There was carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and each of us had a different T-shirt with saying which team we actually were working with. So a typical day following that was we had morning breakfast at 5 a.m. Then we were on the site at 6. We came in for our main breakfast at 9:30. We were out again to lunch at 1. Then we were back out at 2:15 till 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on our enthusiasm. 2 things I learned about myself during this, well, probably learned a lot more, but 2 of the things was I had no idea that I was going to be able to survive temperatures of between 43 and 48 degrees. I find the heat in Mercy International very hot, and I'm always complaining about it, and they told me you'll never survive. But I survived, and I survived it very well. There was one day we were brought in, there was a medical team, and the medical team would decide whether it was actually too hot to work or not. So there was one day that the medical team brought us in. I think there might have been 2, but I think we worked through one of them, and the message didn't get down to where we were working. But they would call us in, and then we would just sit around. We couldn't go to your tent because the tents were just, boiling at that time of the day. So they had seating areas, covered seating areas where we would sit and just chat and drink Coke. I learned I can drink Coke as well. And so it altogether was, everybody worked together, and it was fantastic to see what started off as a very grey type of a building site turn into just a sea of colour. because by the time that we had finished for the few days that we were there, we had all the houses were painted really bright colours, and the playground was just all the equipment that was put in was all very bright, and just gave a totally different lift to the whole area. And the community centre was painted white with red, so it all just stood out so beautiful. And on the last day that we were there, one of the families came in, and there was an official handing over of the house to them, and the children came in and played in the playground. So it was at that point it was quite emotional to see, that everything had come together and that we had achieved what we set out to achieve. But there's no way it could have happened without every single person that went out there just giving every single thing they had to it. And it was all done with great joy and great, there was great hope in it all. And I suppose for me it was working with people who were like-minded. I mean, everybody went out there with the same mindset that they wanted to do this for others. Some it was their first time, it was my first time. Others it was their second and third time to be out there. But they had the same enthusiasm about it the last time as they had, about the first time. And that was palpable, and we leaned on each other, and when people were feeling down and finding it tough, they got support from everybody else. I suppose one of the other things that sustained us was you would never get a group of Irish people together that there wouldn't be music. And every night they had entertainment, and some nights some of the Haitian kids came in and entertained us with dance and song. But there was also, everybody had an opportunity if they wanted to take to the stage, and I can tell you there was some mighty talent in that group. In fact, I'd safely say we will see some of them as national names yet. So that brought everyone together as well, and gave energy. That was supposed to finish at 10:30. I don't know if there was any night that it actually finished at 10:30. But the idea was that we were to be in bed at 10:30 so that we'd be ready to face the next morning at 5 o'clock. So that just to give you an idea of how we managed over there, what we actually did. If there's any time anyone wants to ask a question, just feel free to ask it. Do you want to say anything about your water carrying?
Yeah, I had offered my services as a painter because I couldn't do anything else, and but when I got to the Dublin airport on the morning we were due to travel, I was told that I was going to be on the water team. So I didn't know what that entailed, but what it entailed was walking around the site all day, every day, with a bag full of bottles of water, because the temperatures were so high that we had to make sure that all the painters, roofers, carpenters, sand strainers, everybody was hydrated at all times. But I was kind of disappointed in a way when I got that job, because I wanted to be able to say, well, I painted that wall on that house, But actually it suited my purposes very well as time went on, because I had my little video camera in my bum bag, and I was able to wander around the whole place and take shots and interview the Mercy sisters who were there, and basically got a bird's eye view of everything, while also getting a chance to chat with most of the people who were volunteering, because as the week went on they were getting more and more tired. So when I'd offer them a bottle of water, it was sort of an excuse for come down off your ladder, have the water, have a chat for 5 minutes and go back up. So it was great, I must say. I really enjoyed it towards the end. But I mean, like Kathy, the visit to the homes of the people who were going to be moving into the new houses was very disturbing. I actually found it quite harrowing, and I'd lived in Kenya before and I'd seen poverty like that, but I just felt Haiti is in a league of its own, isn't it? In sort of it's depressed or something, and there just doesn't seem to be any hope. So I suppose the Haven byline is building hope in Haiti. I think it's on the t-shirt there, is it? And that's what they are doing. They are giving people hope. So I was just delighted to be part of it, and we have to be really appreciative as well of everybody who gave us €10, €20, €40, any donations we got, because we had to do a lot of fundraising before we went. And if it wasn't for the generosity of everybody who gave us money, like, we wouldn't have been able to go and do what we did last week.